So it looks like it's far from over when it comes to the beef between DL Hughley and MoNique. As you know, we just reported on DL Hughley's response on his radio show, and I said that was a mic drop. Well, MoNique and her daddy, her husband, they have a response, and it's an over an hour response. But let's break down exactly what is being said here. Welcome back to the Kempire Daily YouTube channel, where you get daily and consistent hot topics in music, entertainment, reality TV, and so much more. As always, be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so you never miss out on breaking news when we go live or when we upload. So, quick update on what's been going on with the whole DL Hughley and MoNique situation. If you've been under a rock, and I get it, this all happened over the holiday weekend. So there was a battle online between DL Hughley and MoNique after MoNique blasted him on stage at this Detroit show, claiming that she was supposed to be the headliner. So the two went back and forth on social media. At one point, DL posted a deal memo. I'm saying these specific words for a reason. And she posted her performance agreement. So in this hour-long IG Live that MoNique did with her husband and manager and daddy, they addressed that. They've addressed that before, where people, oh, you find it weird that I call him daddy. He calls me mama. You like it, I love it. Your relationship, I don't care. It's not for me to judge. So, not only do they address that, there's a lot in this hour-long video where it's just the rehashing of everything that MoNique has been saying over the years. Look, I don't have a dog in this fight. A lot of what MoNique says in this video and what she's been saying over the years are true. However, there's always this other element of like, are you really fighting for us or are you really fighting for yourself? But other than that, let me just get into I'll save my opinion for the end. So DL went on his radio program, and I talked to you about what he said in that 7-minute long video. But then another comedian posted DL's response on stage.
Let's see what part 2's gonna look like. Detroit, what did I miss? Damn. Kanye and MoNique. I can't go nowhere. Apparently Precious was not a movie, that shit was an autobiography, god damn. Motherfucker hate everybody. Damn. Netflix and Steve. You know, I understand. Man, we just went through one of the roughest weeks in recent history. 10 black people get slaughtered in Buffalo because they're black. We got 21 kids getting slaughtered in Mexico, and you want to talk about you all the goddamn time. What the fuck is it you about? You.
As I said to you before, MoNique had the 10-minute rant about this situation, and in that rant she claims that this is not the first time that DL has been disrespectful towards her. So she rehashes that in her IG Live. So she has this 10-minute rant. So this comedian posted, okay, MoNique had a 10-minute rant. DL comes on stage and addresses it for a minute. So a lot of the stuff that DL said on social media, oh, I thought Precious was a fictional movie, but it was really an autobiography. So he said that on stage, but he only addressed it for a minute. And a lot of you that have been in the comments have said she shouldn't have left this between y'all teams. Y'all should be handling things offline. You shouldn't, bombard the audience for 10 minutes with your personal drama. However, one thing I'll say about MoNique, if you've been to a MoNique show, her style of comedy is different. It's not just jokes. It's very conversational. So even when she was really blasting DL, she really was blasting him, there was also a level of comedy in there. There was a little bit of a level, disgusting comedy for some, but there is always a level of comedy. Like I said before, if you haven't seen MoNique's show before, then you probably wouldn't understand that. But there are some people that did pay for tickets and that were probably like, girl, I don't care about who headline. Why can't I see both of you? So as I said to you before, both of them have posted multiple different receipts as to who was the headliner. But in MoNique's IG Live, she's addressing everything that DL said in his recent video on his radio show about this whole situation and how she came for his family and they have nothing to do with this. So she addresses that in this IG Live, and she says this didn't start with this whole headliner contract. It actually started years ago when I was on his radio show. She also says in this video, she says, there was nothing that was said about your wife, your family. It was directed specifically to you. Saturday night, DL Hughley was going to get his ass handed to him because through the years, I've heard this man have a lot to say about me. According to our friends over at hotnewhiphop.com, they said, she said she wasn't going to address those comments during an interview or some sit down. The night that I spoke about DL Hughley, I wanted DL Hughley to be there. MoNiques claimed that she used this opportunity to bring up Steve Harvey because she said he and Hughley sat down together for a radio interview and, quote, lied. MoNiques explained that it was her mission over the weekend to get back at Hughley for negativity, and she disputed his claim that several audience members were disappointed with her display. Her husband also chimed in to have her back. As I said to you before, I'll post a link to the full video if you want to watch. As I said to you before, it's an hour long. So his 7 minutes and her hour. Over an hour. But just let's take a listen a little bit to what she said.
And as I was on that stage saying what I was saying, let me be clear. It was intentional. It was intentional. The contract situation and the headliner situation, that was just the icing on the cake for DL Hughley and I.
Let's take them back, though.
Take them back.
Let's take them back to the beginning so everybody can get an understanding of where the love fest, if you will, ended.
Let me turn it up, Daddy. They saying turn it up.
All right.
Okay. So let me just take y'all back to where when you think you're cool with somebody, you find out that you're not. Some time ago when DL Hughley, he still has his radio show, and they called me to do an interview. I go on to do the interview, and I'm getting interviewed by the Sister Jasmine, and I can't remember the other gentlemen that were in the room. It was one of his producers, and it was another gentleman on the radio. And please forgive me, I can't remember their names. So we're having a great time doing this interview. Well, when we get to the end of the interview, the Sister Jasmine says, "Hey, MoNiques, would you like to play a game?" And I said, "Okay, sis, let's play the game." Well, when she said the game is called Would You Rather. So I said, okay, I'm down for it. And then the sister says to me, would you rather your husband sleeps with Lee Daniels with a condom or Corinne Steffens without one?
Breathe that in for a sec.
Now, for those of you who didn't hear it and you might just have joined the room, I want to take you back to that moment. This sister, a black woman, asked me when they were playing this game called Would You Rather, "Hey, MoNiques, would you rather your husband sleeps with Lee Daniels with a condom or Corinne Steffens without one?" Now, the question that I would ask anybody that's listening, is that offensive? Is that insulting? Is that going too far?
And how, when you are pro-black or portray yourself as a pro-black man, how is that helpful to the community to ask, would you sleep with Lee Daniels with a condom? Would you prefer your husband sleep with Lee Daniels with a condom or Corinne Steffens without? Because any way MoNiques speaks on it, what happens? You're downgrading the other person.
Yes.
And despite the fact that MoNiques and Lee were having a rift at the time, she refused to say anything negatively against them in that regard. She wasn't going to play that.
So they go on and they talk about the contracts and things like that. As I've said to you before, if you've been watching my coverage of this story, they go back and forth. According to MoNiques, she had a performance agreement. What DL posted was a deal memo. And they go through what the difference is. Look, at this point, if it's about that, what is it really about? Is it about what he did in the past? Look, that's not my style of interviewing someone. If someone comes on my platform, that is not a question I'm going to ask them. Especially a grown woman, there is nothing humorous about that question. However, that's also still something that you could have dealt with then. That's something that you could have been like, I'm not, first of all, do you think that I would do a performance with him or work with him or be on the same bill as him? Nope. Do I feel like she's grabbing at straws right now? Possibly, especially if you watch this hour-long thing. And I did. And I always say this about MoNiques. She always has a level of truth, but then there's always like, wait, is there more to the story here? And I'm not saying that DL's correct, and I'm not saying that MoNique is correct. Here I go twerking on the fence. Always, if you're new to the channel, I do this. All of that being said, if the real issue, what is the real issue? Because at one point we thought it was something that had to do with the promoter. We were like, well, you need to deal with the promoter. If you were supposed to be the headliner for this, this is a promoter issue. Sue the promoter if that was being misconstrued. But as I said to you before, both have posted their different receipts, contracts, sound checks, different versions. So I don't know if you got these different versions from the promoter, then the promoter needs to come out and speak out and confirm what is true. But I got to pay attention to something. Not even the ticket, looking at the ticket that DL told us to look at. If you look at the promo photo for this event, the bigger picture literally is DL Hughley. The bigger picture. And if you know promo, that usually means that's the headliner. But according to MoNique, she's saying it's not about that. It's about the things that he's done over the years and lied on her about. Whatever it is, I need y'all to stop. If this was an issue that you had with him, MoNique, so you pretty much set him up for the okie doke. He was going to come there and listen to you blast him and his family, because you mentioned his family and his support dog, all in your act. I hope DL doesn't respond at this point, because it's just not worth it. You know what? You know my mantra on these types of things. First of all, she would have been lucky if I even had one response. Never mind the multiple responses that we've seen. If you're new to the channel, we welcome everyone's opinion, because I've seen both people like, I stand with MoNique, hashtag I stand with MoNique. Oh, DL has been problematic. Or no, I stand with DL. Let's have adult conversation below. And I'm willing to hear everyone's side. Guys, as always, be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so you never miss out on breaking news when we go live or when we upload. Thanks for watching.